Selling your home as a for sale by owner sounds simple enough, right? Take a few photos, throw it online, and wait for the perfect buyer. Easy, right? But the truth is, selling as a for sale by owner can save you a ton of money, but it can also cost you a ton of money as well. And in this video, I'll take you through the basic steps to sell your property as a for sale by owner. I'll go over some of the steps that you absolutely must take, and I'll also go over some of the hidden challenges that are working against you. If you're thinking of saving the commission, stick around. By the end of this video, you'll know how to sell your home as a for sale by owner. Let's get right into it. And point number one, and you'd think this would be a given, you want to have good curb appeal. So from the outside of the property, you just need to make sure that it shows well. So cut the grass, de-weed, any kind of lawn maintenance. Calgary can be a very dusty city, so you want to maybe pressure wash the siding and the front entrance area. Just make sure it's neat and tidy. And you also want to maybe trim the hedge, remove the cars from the front parking area. That definitely helps as well. And just use your common sense, make sure it looks neat and tidy and ready for showings. And point number two, similar to the last point, you're going to want to stage the property as well as you can. So first impressions do matter. So when they get into the property, make sure that's neat and tidy. There's no strong odors or smells. Any kind of pets are put away. Paint goes a long way in real estate, and it's actually fairly affordable to raise the value of your property. So if it's outdated, I would definitely look into painting it. Again, decluttering, put everything on the kitchen, like out of sight, out of mind. Kind of like a show home. Everything is in its right spot. There's no clutter lying around. This can be tough if you're living in the property, but just use your common sense. Let the buyer see the property as they could live in it, not how you're living in it. So just get rid of any kind of junk, make sure it's neat and tidy and staged well. This will definitely help you out. And this isn't like a cutting edge tip. This is pretty much common sense, but you would be surprised what you see in real estate. I see all sorts of just nasty looking properties that are for sale, and it doesn't make much sense to me. So neat, tidy, first impressions do matter. Point number three, when it comes to marketing, you're going to want to have excellent photos. Now, you think this would be a given as well, but not really. I see all sorts of terrible photos on the MLS with full-time real estate agents. And with for sale buyers, I see miserable, just horrible looking photos all the time. And you're just hurting your chances of selling the property. Again, first impressions do matter. For most buyers, the first time they're seeing your property is on some kind of website. And if you have terrible photos, it's not going to help your cause. So you're definitely going to want to hire a professional. Now, I know I'll get people in the comments, so my iPhone does a great job. It's not as good as a professional photographer. Trust me, the lighting looks way better. They can make your home look bigger. So if you have professional photos, you'll have an edge up on the competition. And again, you'll be shocked at how often we see bad photos on for sale by owner sites and the MLS with full-time realtors. It's very common. Point number four, let's talk about marketing your property. Now, when it comes to FSBOs, you get all sorts of different people out there. You'll get the FSBO that just puts like a sign in their window, and this is tough. You're basically just relying on pure chance to sell your property. It's kind of like when you're driving by and you see a car that has like a for sale sign on it. FSBO is no different for a lot of them. They just put a sign in their front window. An upgrade to this would be a sign on the front lawn. It's for sale, call this number. That's also quite common when you're driving around Calgary. You see this all the time. Again, you're just relying on pure chance. Maybe a neighbor sees it and buys it. Not a very predictable and duplicatable system. And I personally wouldn't do it. I think you're wasting your time for the most part. But there are some people out there that do get their home sold this way, but I think you're just relying on pure chance. An upgrade to this is putting your home on a for sale by owner website. If you just Google FSBO Calgary, there's all sorts of different websites out there. There's Craigslist, there's Kijiji, there's, again, a bunch of websites that kind of handle FSBOs. This is an upgrade, but the clientele that comes from this is pretty rough. It's usually like investors who want some kind of major discount. Now, for most people who are selling privately, they want to get the most money as they can. That's why they're a FSBO, but their main clientele are investors who are looking for like a 20-30% discount. So you're just marketing to the wrong types of people on these websites. And I've always been a bit confused by these websites because they can charge you to put your home on the site, and you might be paying for additional marketing. You're getting the wrong clientele. And this is why statistically the FSBO sells for about 10% less on average than with a full-time real estate agent, which is more than the commission. So there are just a bunch of things like this that are working against the for sale by owner, and that's why it's costly for them. But some people do sell this way, and they do net a good amount of money. So I'm not going to say it doesn't work. I just think for many, it's not the best way to go about doing it. And an upgrade to this, if you're a for sale winner, there are sites that will put your home on the MLS system, and we call this a mirror posting. So your home is on the MLS, all of the buyers can see it, and there's usually some kind of disclaimer in there where the commission is like 1 cent. It's not set in stone like your typical MLS listing with, say, like Remax or Royal LePage. So it's on there, but it's a bit different. There is some stigma to this because most agents, I would say 90% or more, of agents out there do not like working with for sale winners, and vice versa. I spent years and years calling them, and before I can even get my words out of my mouth, they're yelling at me. So realtors and FSBOs do not get along, but the catch here is that 90% of buyers or more are working with a full-time real estate agent. So we have all of the buyers, and what's left over are the investors and the people looking for some kind of financing arrangement. And this is another reason why they sell for so much less on average. There are just so many things working against them. So if you're a for sale by owner out there and you're watching this, when an agent calls you, be nice to them because they might have the buyer for your property. But this is not always the case. I spent a good decade calling FSBOs, 20 or 30 per day, and I got yelled and screamed at and cursed at, so I know what it's like, firsthand experience. So you're not doing yourself any favors when you're rude to the real estate agent who has the buyer for your property. Now, some other things that you can do if you're selling privately, you could put your home on YouTube, kind of like what I'm doing right now. I have a lot of properties where I'll do walkthroughs and they get tons of views. You could find a buyer that way, but it's still gonna be very tough. My channel is about 3 years old now and I'm posting 3-4 times a week. And so I get a lot of traction from it. But if you're brand new and you have one video on YouTube of your property in, say, Forest Lawn or Acadia, you're not gonna get a huge amount of activity from that, and you're probably not gonna sell it that way. But it might happen. You can also spend some money and boost your property on like Facebook and Instagram ads. This can get costly, and I've done it in the past, and you get like the worst kind of leads. They're interested, but they never talk to you, they never respond, they never answer your call or text. They just kind of, they're out there, but you can never convert them. So it's a bit of a waste of money, I think, the whole boosting on social media. But it could be an avenue if you got big pocketbook and you want to spend a lot of money on marketing as a FSBO. This could be an option for you too. Now, all of this gets a bit costly, so I'm always of the opinion that you're just better off to hire a real estate agent and let them pay for all of the marketing. And odds are you're going to get a better sales price too. And step number 5, let's talk about pricing. Now, this could be the most important step in the entire process for a for sale winner or for a full-time real estate agent. Pricing is critical. Now, your typical private sale for sale by owner, they seem to do everything wrong. They've got the wrong marketing, they've got on the wrong websites, they're attracting the wrong clientele, and most of them, from my experience, also want to price it high to leave room for negotiation, and they can be way off. Like if market value is 400, they can be out there around 500,000, trying to wheel and deal and negotiate with the buyer. The problem is the buyers just don't see it. And if they do see it, they're probably working with an agent, and that agent doesn't really want to show it, and that buyer doesn't want to see it either because they might have to pay for the commission. So there's all sorts of things working against them. So if you're not priced well as a FSBO, you have no chance of selling it. And I would also say if you're not priced well with a full-time real estate agent, you're probably not going to sell the property either. So pricing is critical for either one. So when it comes to pricing, what you want to do is you want to check absolutely everything. You want to know what type of market that you're in. Is it a buyer's market, seller's market, flat market? Is there a ton of inventory that's competing against you? So you want to check the active listings. How many homes are for sale in the neighborhood that are similar to yours? Are their prices going up? Are they going down? If it's a balanced market or a buyer's market like right now in Calgary, you're going to have to compete against the other listings in the market. So if you have 3 properties that are identical and one is 20,000 less than yours, buyers are going to go there. If you have 3 identical properties all priced the same and 2 are with like full-time real estate companies and one is a for sale winner, I can guarantee you they're not going to the FSBO first. So that's also working against you. You want to check what's conditionally sold in the market. That can give you clues into what buyers are picking. You want to check on what's been terminated, and you also want to check what has sold that's actually similar to your property. This is actually the most important step. Don't compare so much to what's active because you can overprice your property and that value doesn't make much sense. But the sold properties, especially in a declining market or a balanced market, it's very important. And you have to be logical when it comes to sale prices too. If we're in like a declining market, like say you're selling a condo in Calgary and the last comparable sale was from 2 or 3 months ago, odds are the price of your home that's very similar to that is going to be less. So you want to be priced ahead of the market to catch it. And lastly, you want to compare apples to apples. So Same neighborhood, same style of property, same age, same size. Is it renovated or not? Try to keep it as comparable as possible. And this is hard for many people. When I was a brand new agent, pricing was difficult. So for the public who's not selling homes every single day, pricing can be an issue for them. So basically just be very logical, take the emotion out of it. And this is also another reason why you want to hire a real estate agent, because we see it more black and white versus the owner is more like emotional than they are logical about their sales price. So pricing, ultra critical. You do not want to overprice your property in any market. And point number 6, let's talk about showings. Now this is another area where the FSBO can drop the ball and complicate things. So you want to make it easy to view your property. Like I've showed for sale by owner properties and I try to call them, I try to text them and no response. How do you sell a property if you can't view it? So make things easy for the buyers to view the property. That would be the first recommendation here. And the second point is you don't want to be in the property when the buyer comes. Now, this is very common with your FSBO. They're always in the property and they want to show you through it and they want to ask you a bunch of questions. This hurts your chances. If the buyer is viewing your property and the seller is home, they're not going to feel comfortable. They just want to get out of there for the most part. And it's not a good idea for a buyer and seller to be communicating as well. I've seen many transactions fall apart because the buyer or the seller can talk too much. So it's generally a bad idea to get them in the same room talking. And the last point here on showings is you have to realize that most buyers, they don't do this every single day. So they want to have a real estate agent take them through the process. And typically the seller pays for the commission. So it's free on the buying end. So that's why all the buyers are with agents. And this is why it's complicated. If you are a FSBO and you're being rude to the agent, you're hurting your chances because 90% of all buyers are with your typical agent. And the last point on showings, which can complicate the situation, in Alberta we have buyer agreements. And in those buyer agreements, it goes over how we get paid and our obligations to the buyer. And I'll tell them my expectations is that I get paid at least 3.5% of the first 100,000 and 1.5% of the balance or more. And if there's a shortfall, I ask the buyer, are you okay paying the difference? Now, every time I've asked this question, the buyer says, no, I thought the seller paid the commission. I don't want to get involved in that. So I tell them, if there are properties out there that you like that are like discounted brokerages or for sale by owner companies, they're not paying the regular commission, do you still want to view those properties if you might have to pay the difference in commission? And they always tell me no. So now we have the buyer's guidance not to view those properties. So this is why it's problematic to be on the MLS system as a FSBO. So if you are considering these companies, just know there is still some stigma with it and don't expect the same kind of outcome as with a regular full service brokerage. Point number 7, sales and negotiations. Now, realtors get a bad rap. People think that we're overpaid and that we don't do anything, we just turn lights on. It's not as easy as it sounds. So if you are thinking of selling it privately, this one is for you. It's definitely a lot harder than what it looks. You have to be good at a lot of different things, from prospecting for business, branding, marketing, the legal aspect of it, handyman sometimes, you have to be good with people. And lastly, you're gonna have to work very hard. Now, if you are working full-time already and trying to sell your property on the side, that's gonna work against you because the showings are completely random. You might have to drop what you're doing at like Sunday at like 8 a.m. to show the property, or it could be like a Wednesday at 10 p.m. The showings are just so random and you could have deals fall apart. You could be working for weeks and weeks with no outcome. And if you're working full-time already, it's just gonna be very difficult. So it's not as easy as it sounds, not as simple as it sounds, and there's a lot more work than what you might think. And the next step is the purchase contract. Now, I'm sure you can go to the Alberta Real Estate Association website and print off the purchase contract. I'm assuming the public can do that. I would use this one. It's pretty cut and dry, but saying that, there are still some major issues that pop up in real estate. Every transaction is different. There's different terms and clauses they have to add into these contracts. And even full-time real estate agents can get themselves into trouble when it comes to contracts. Every single month, there are issues. There's fines, there's punishments, there's suspensions for things that happen in real estate. And this is people who are doing this full-time. It's a complicated job. So buyers and sellers can be changing their mind about things. They can add in things at the last minute. They can back out. Things can get complicated. And if you don't understand the contract fully and the red flags that can pop up, it's a bit sketchy to me. Like, I'm very hesitant to bring a buyer to a for sale by owner because I don't want to get myself into a lawsuit or the buyer, because it's always the real estate agent's fault, not the seller or the buyer. So this is another reason why most agents would rather avoid dealing with the FSBO, because they don't understand the contract. Their rationale for the most part, I'll let my lawyer do everything. Oh, I see red whenever I hear this. The lawyer has an important part in this process, but it's like step 10 out of 10. They come at the very end to help with like the land title and dealing with the buyer's mortgage. So they're not here to sell your property. And you could be at the very last step and just think, oh, I'll get my lawyer to look at this. It's too late at that point. So that's why you have to understand the contract and know what you're getting yourself into. Another reason why many agents are just a bit hesitant to work with these types of people. They don't understand the business. I think you have to sell like 100 properties to know what you're doing. You have to work in like a hot market, bad market, flat market, see all the issues that pop up. You just need experience like everything else in life. You just can't sell one property and become an expert. And that's why I'm kind of hesitant to bring my buyers to a for sale winner. Even though they might have good intentions, it's just a bit too risky on my part. Next step, so we're almost done here. We're at the conditional sale phase. So you've got the purchase contract sorted out, and it could be conditional on, say, a home inspection or a financing condition, maybe a condo document review, or it could even be a sale of the buyer's property. So there's all sorts of different conditions and terms that could be in the contract. For the most part, I think you'd be lucky to get here as a FSBO. And for this process, for a seller, it's more like a waiting around period. You're waiting for the buyer to do their due diligence with the home inspection and financing. So I think you'd be lucky to get this far as a FSBO. Most don't get to this stage of the process. And again, it's more like a waiting around period. And the last step is the legal process, the closing process. So this is where your lawyer comes in. Now, when I talk to a lot of FSBOs, they just tell me, we don't need agents, they don't do anything, they just turn lights on. I'll get my lawyer to do everything. I hear this all the time. Now, your lawyer is helpful, but they're not going to sell the property for you. They're not going to give you a market evaluation and price it strategically. They're not going to show your property and help you all the different terms and clauses. They're not going to sell the property. So what the lawyer actually does is they help transfer ownership to the next buyer with land titles, and they help arrange the financing. So they're not here to sell your property, they're just here to transfer legal ownership of it. So it's not good enough to say, my lawyer will handle everything. They're not going to do that for you. And odds are, if that's your mindset, you might get yourself into major trouble before even seeing the lawyer. And at that point, it's too late. So I think if you are a seller, you're going to want to have a good professional helping you all the way through it. So you want to have a good real estate agent and a good lawyer, but don't think the lawyer is going to do everything for you. That's not their job during this process. All right, we're done here. Thanks for watching. Now, if you are out there watching this video and you are thinking of selling your home and you have some questions about maybe being a for sale winner or selling it the conventional way, I would love to be a resource and to help you out. I'm easy to get a hold of. You can call, text, email, or comment. I will get it and get back to you. And I've also got some free resources for you in the pinned comment, buyer's guide, seller's guide, and a relocation guide, all free for download. Again, I'd love to be a resource, and I will see you on the next video.